Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the TFT Perspective. So, we was looking back at the previous episodes. We did a number of episodes on the Manipur issue within the northeastern states of India. So, things right now are looking completely bleak for the government as the entire state apparatus is now trying to, enforce law and order situation within Manipur as well as the surrounding areas of the Imphal Valley. So, the latest news is like yesterday on 9th September, there was a big attack by the Kuki militants in which around 11 people were killed, and drones and rockets again were used. And there was a lot of huge cry over the Indian media about the use of rockets and advanced technology by such insurgent groups. Today, in the morning, the government authorities imposed, unannounced and complete shutdown of the Imphal Valley. A curfew was announced, and a lot of Assam Rifle battalions were seen, roaming around the streets as well. Yesterday, there was another event. A lot of sisters and daughters of the Meitei tribe came out, and a lot of university students as well. And they suggested that there's not going to be any violence inside the Imphal Valley as well as in Manipur. This is our state, and the ethnic tensions are being risen by the government. That's apparently from one of the protester statements, and that came on the ANI. So we are going to look forward to the events happening inside Manipur. We have with us Mr. Vakar K. Korvi. Sir, what do you think is, when it comes to imposing curfew inside a valley which is, inhabited by around 60 to 65% of the population of Manipur? Is it a wise strategy by the current government? Was if they are going to launch an operation against the Kuki militants, wouldn't it be suggested that they should vacate the valley first and then initiate these such operations?
I think just to recall the geography and topography of Manipur is very important to understand the conflict. And before we venture into that question, I just reconnect the audience, because generally Northeast is out of Pakistani radar, and people don't know what is kind of the region and the tribes and all that. Now, if you look at Northeast, you have Arunachal Pradesh in the north. Then you have Assam, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, and Meghalaya. So these are called the seven systems. Now, if you come to the geography of Manipur itself, mainly there are two major ranges. So I'll just go through. One is Latha range from south to north, and the other is Lamatol range. And within these two ranges is basically Imphal Valley. So it's just like a bowl that you have hills on all the sides, east, west, north, and south. And in the center you have Imphal Valley, and then Imphal Valley is again Imphal East and Imphal West. Now, if you look at the configuration of the districts, so it's again very important. From the north you have Senapati district, Ukhrul, Chandel in the south. Then the populated areas like Imphal West, Bishnupur, Thubol, and then you have Churachandpur, which is coming in the news regularly, Imphal West, and then you have Tamenglong. So basically, these are the districts. And the claim by the Kukis, there are maps already, and these maps are there since ages, is that leaving 1/3 of the area in the north. So it means part of Ukhrul, Senapati, and Tamenglong, and part of Imphal Valley. Rest everything should be Kuki land. Despite that, you mentioned demographically, they are about 40% of the population, because you have Nagas also. But generally, Nagas and Kukis would cooperate, being Christians. So this is the kind of now it becomes very, very difficult to split the state in some defined boundary, because it has a very unique boundary. And then you come to the rest of the players. As we mentioned last time, you had basically Myanmar on the east, and then you have China very close. If you look at Arunachal Pradesh across Nagaland, and then you have
and India has already claimed that Chin militants across the border are actually in contact with the Kuki militants that are training them as well.
Yes, so the Chin state, with Manipur, is again in the limelight because they have brotherhood. And even I think during fighting, a lot of people who were injured in Manipur were taken to Chin state, given treatment, and then basically they came back. So that's, I think, the geography. Now we come to the current, I think, crisis and handling of the crisis. I'll just refer to one very interesting interview by Mr. P.K. Mishra,
Yes.
of Mr. P.K. Mishra, who was ex-assistant DG of the BSF in the region. And he was interviewed by Mirror Now, which is again I think very important and English channel. And he was so critical of the federal government, the union government, as they call it in India. The chief minister, he said the chief minister cannot himself, move from one district to another. What is he talking about? And he's looking at, unified command and all the troops of, like when you talk of unified command, it means that the Assam Rifles, which is basically a very large group. So I'm sure part of its sectors are operating in Manipur. Then you have the Eastern Command troops, which is most probably 5 Mountain Division is here. And then you have police, CPRF. So all combined, this is normally in terms of crisis. In times of crisis, is given under unified command. Maybe a 3-star is placed over that. It will be decided because Assam Rifle is also commanded by a 3-star from the army. So the chief minister asked that. Whereas PK Mishra claimed that he is the one who is responsible for all this mess. And he's been unable.
And he also claimed that the chief minister can't even visit a single district within.
Yes,
Manipur.
that's right. He can't himself. So I think the situation is precarious. There are internal factors, there are external factors. As we mentioned, that there's a talk of interference from Myanmar, and then now Bangladesh, taking a very different stance. India is worried that because some reports suggested some of the drones were flown from Chittagong hill tracks, which is very interesting. This is Indian media. And then it's very interesting that a military with $85 billion of budget is not able to manage one state, and it's a total civil war. I think it's worse than what happened in Rwanda.
Yeah, another important factor, just like I introduced the topic earlier, that just last night a lot of mothers and sisters from the Imphal Valley came outside and actually demanded that the senior most police officers, the IG and such people should resign immediately. So if the government wants to impose a curfew over a tribe or a scheduled tribe or the Métis, majority Hindus, who they think they have the support of since the BJP has government there. But now the same Métis are demanding that such people or in the security forces should go now. And they don't want violence in the valley. So this is a big confusion. How are they going to even proceed with an operation like this when the entire population is not on board?
I think any step that Indian military or the Central Command or the Eastern Command or let's say Unified Command takes is going to, I think, create more problems. That has been. If you've noticed, Prime Minister Modi has not even spoken about Manipur.
Yes.
He has never visited. He's been to Singapore and he's been to Brunei. And then, of course, he's been receiving delegates from UAE recently. But he's not passed any remark on Manipur. So I think he's scared because the government is held by BJP. And it was believed that they are going to bring development because there are a lot of, I think, mines and minerals in this area. And BJP thought that they'll bring, corporate tycoons like Adani and Ambani and they're going to change it. And there was definitely resentment from Kuki tribes that the resources are going to be plundered. So I think right from the day one, if you look at last year, 2023 May, I think Indian military could have intervened and done it when it started. But now, as I think PK Mishra mentioned, and I wish we can show some of his clips, depending on the copyrights, that he says that it appears that this is now Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, drones are being used.
Drones are being used and rockets are being fired, rocket launchers and heavy weapons, M16s, and both sides. And he says that basically it's a border between two countries. It's not the border between Kukis and Whiteys, especially if you look at the districts of Bishnupur and Thumbal, basically, and Chura Chandpur. So wherever there is overlapping in the valleys, So as I think there was a news that a soldier was, I think, ex-soldier, veteran was lynched by the other side. I don't know, and he was moving from his hometown to the next village. So it's, I think, it's very, very precarious situation, and things seem to be now slipping out of Indian military. Unfortunately, in Pakistani media, I'm surprised that if you compare it with Balochistan, there's no comparison actually, because maybe there are few insurgents, 2,500 or less than that, who are trying to destabilize. But here you have communities, and it's very densely populated. If you look at the size of Manipur, and almost 3.6 million people, out of which we have about 60-65% Métis, and then you have Kukis and Nagas. So it's a huge population if you look at, and they are let's say dagger drawn and fighting. So it's a very precarious situation, And unfortunately, so-called the champions of human rights, champions of Amnesty International, all that, they're just passing statement, but nobody's bothered about. And by and large, Indian media, just because of the civil war, is now focused. Otherwise, for last, I think, 6-7 months, they were very quiet.
Yeah, these events have been happening since last year, I think. And can we see a repeat of, Srebrenica episodes when it took place between the Serbs and the Bosnians? This type of situation actually developing here. Since the government of India is not doing anything, the only thing they can come up is curfewing that place which they have support from, actually.
Yeah, I think it is possible, because if you look at the killings taken place, so the government figures are about, I think, 265 killed, and if you look at arson and looting, I think dozens of churches were burnt in the Fall Valley, and then you have women who were molested, unfortunately, and maybe I think there are thousands of people who are injured, and then there are migrations also.
Yes.
If you look at cookies who were, let's say, in the Imphal Valley, it was not demarcated as such that in the valley you had all the mighties and cookies were living. Definitely, cookies were doing their businesses, and they were intermarriages also. But now, if they have been pushed out to the hills, and where there is, I think, in terms of infrastructure, road, I think power and all that, it is very scarce. So it means that they've been pushed out of their homes. So it's already happening. It's just matter of, I think, some trigger which can further, incite the violence, and you could find something very, very closer to like Srebrenica, or as I mentioned, that it's more like Rwanda, where Hutus and Tutsis and Hutus, they went into a civil war, and the government couldn't do anything, and it took years. And this I think conflict has also taken more than 1 year, almost 1 year, and I think 3-4 months. So it's just tarnishing the image of Indian politico-military leadership. It's tarnishing the image of Indian military, which spends so much of money and claims that they are going to fight. And just imagine, the Rajnath Singh.
65,000 of them.
Yeah, 65,000 military there. And Rajnath Singh, day before yesterday, was passing a remark asking, from their side, the POK people should join India. Just look at the cheeks, He has the cheeks to say that you can't handle one Manipur. You guys can't handle the neighborhood, Bangladesh, Maldives, and you are talking of... and somebody remarked that, in case they come and join you, so how are you going to handle them? I'm sure Pakistan Army is going to give them a bloody nose. But look at the way, they will project. And here we have a total mess.
Yeah. So if the cookies, the insurgent groups, do manage to get their demands met, and they do get to have their own state or a province within India, so in that point of view, how do you think the other minority groups inside Northeast as well as in other areas of India would react to this?
Yeah, actually, Northeast itself is very complicated. And then we can move to Indian mainland, how it affects like Gorkha land or occupied Kashmir. In the south, there is a call for Dvida Nadu, basically. Composition of...
India's first go medicine towards this was always like, whenever there is ethnic tension, just divide the state into two.
Yes, they've been doing
They usually do this.
They divided Andhra Pradesh,
Yes.
divided the central provinces, they divided, even if you look at a lot of states, even Punjab was
Yes.
dissected. And that was a very convenient way to solve, the problems. But here the thing is very different. Like if you look at Nagaland or Naga's greater homeland. So they also have a claim. So start from Nagaland, part of Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, and then, certain Naga areas in Myanmar. So there is also concept of greater Nagaland. And if you look at Kuki land, they have their own claim with Manipur in the center. And they claim the areas in Nagaland, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, and Chittagong head track, and the Chin state in Myanmar. So again, and maybe there could be other tribes claiming that. Similarly, probably in Assam, there are tribes who could claim. So one, I think, is going to, in case it goes out of control. So whether they, get this area in the south and divide it, so they could be called by the Nagas, okay, now we want to establish. So it could create a huge civil war within the north, and then it could start spreading. Already, I think, I read one of the, I think, papers that Indian Army is now planning of establishing a training center in Bastar, basically in the hotbeds of Naxalites area. So they are worried that next insurgency is going to come from there. I think they have acquired 150,000 acres of land has been given in the forest. And Gauravaria was claiming that, Indian military is going to come and camp here. Mainly, I think they are worried. Probably they're going to push a lot of forces. Now, look at the demand of the military. You already have problem with Pakistan. You have problem with China, if
latest incursions as
incursion,
well.
and maybe in the winters, something heats up. And already, I think even part of their strike force had to be deployed in Ladakh. You remember even the armor was moved.
Yes.
Then you have northeast, Indian Punjab, and if Mamta Banerjee also goes out of control, so I think Indian Army is going to be deployed only for internal security operations. Nobody is going to be there for the borders. So it's going to be very, very serious situation.
Yeah. So, would the fires inside Imphal spread elsewhere also in the coming days? Because what we have witnessed, the constant, dehumanizing of minority groups inside India as well. Not just talking about different ethnicities, but religions as well. So, is it just going to stick within the boundaries of Manipur, or the Naga issue is also going to come by again, and then further with the Bengali nationalism concept and all that?
I think I'll refer to Bhavisha Malika that we discussed. Something is, I think the scenario is very close to what was projected in Bhavisha Malika. So it means that it is triggered from Bengal, which has already happened. And now the northeast may be engulfed, and then you have this fire spreading. So I have seen a lot of Indian, vloggers and mainstream media talking of Pakistan ke chaar tukde ho jayenge and all that. I think they should be worried about, I don't know how many pieces India will be divided into in case they control. So I think it has the potential, because this civil war could spread to rest of the northeast. And then you have,
Because it's also going to not only create ethnic divisions, it's also going to create further religious tensions between Christians and Hindus.
yes,
Elsewhere.
and this is one area where there's a lot of concentration. Somebody was mentioning, as I think, that actually Nagaland is 88% Christian, and then in Manipur, so almost 40-45. Mizoram, so these are three Christian majority states, and then you have already Hindu Khatre mein and all that starting in other areas. We have now seen increased lynching of Muslims and Christians in the mainland. Even either Sikhs are worried about it, how the RSS agenda is being imposed in Punjab. So I think we are going to witness very interesting times ahead.
Yeah. Last question would be that, for instance, the BJP government loses its mandate in the next elections, and this thing happening inside Manipur continues and it spreads everywhere as well. But then there is another government in power. How do you think they can handle the situation, or it would be already too late?
I think it may be already too. Although Rahul Gandhi is now in the United States, I think he has timed his visit with Moody's going there. So he's preempted and already engaging Indian diaspora there. He does talk of, like Bharat Jodo Yatra. And I think they genuinely feel. Our Congress guys are very smart. Unlike, I think, BJP nuts, who basically would like to, just carry one agenda of Hindutva. But I think if you're looking at those elections, it's going to be very, very late. By that time, things would be out of control. And maybe India will be looking at a greater civil war happening, especially in the northeast and area around Bangladesh.
Yeah. So that's it for today, folks. Please do leave a like and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much for watching us. Bye-bye.